Tap, brother, man.
On tap, Dr. Kaba. How you doing?
Brother, I am so proud of myself. This is the first time I did this by myself without tutorial from my brother Caleb.
Hey, you killing it, doctor. You killing it. We're proud of you.
Hey, brother.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
man, I'm a true educator, brother. I'm a student, man. The
That's
best
right.
teachers are the best students, man.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
No
Dr.
doubt.
Kaba, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your time, your wisdom once more. Tonight's topic is perfect timing. It's Mother's Day. People appreciate their mothers, women in their lives, their wives. But W.A.P is a very interesting topic because now with sex being everywhere, the song W.A.P, seeing our artists always talk about sex. How do we dissect W.A.P actually and actually respect sex, respect the woman, respect the man? So I will open it up with a framing question and then you can just build from there. But starting off, how do we respect when it comes to having sex, reproducing, and also creating life? How do we begin that process of unlearning everything that we've learned from media?
My brother Caleb, and to the community that's listening, let me start off by saying this. I realize the topic this evening. I realize the song. I want to first let everybody know the level of my respect for you, Caleb, for your audience, and for what you're trying to do.
Thank you.
That has to be said first and foremost.
Thank you.
We are living in a society, in the Western society, that has never truly respected themselves. Western civilization does not respect themselves. If you don't respect yourself, you cannot respect somebody else.
Right.
If I recognize the God in you, the creator in you, I first have to see the creator in me. And how I interact with you is a direct reflection of how I view the creator within me. I'm going to call it, when we say words like sex, I'd like to use the word clutch. There's a way that I want to talk this evening that is going to be carefully constructed. I've thought about this from when you and I spoke, and you said, wow, come on, brother, let's get on this topic, because it is so very important, because that act that I call the clutch is the single most important act that a human being can perform.
Wow.
When a man and a woman are in the clutch, it is the one time that two people become one. Because in my entering the woman, we are now one person.
Right. Right.
And that is the creator resurrected. And so it becomes important. And you see, back in the day, brother, we as Africans would have gone through at the age of 12, 13, give or take. Some would have been younger because of how they act and how they matured. But the rite to pass program, because I don't call it the rite of passage.
Right.
The reason why we in this civilization are dealing with a concept of a rite of passage is because we have been introduced to a particular system through a faith system that they celebrate what is called bar mitzvah. And that is when a young man, young woman comes of age. They get the power to be able to reproduce themselves. That is the direct correlation from the African system. I don't call it rite of passage, I call it rite to pass, because there are multiple activities that we have developed in our civilization in Africa. There are many different rite to pass programs. But the one that is puberty is a marked point in a human's life because you are now given by the creator the ability to reproduce yourself.
Right.
As opposed to the other, which, okay, when you were conceived and mother found out that she was expecting, that was a rite to pass. Because your entity now was captured by the body, your spirit, your your soul was captured by the body, and now the community knew to welcome in a new spirit encased in a body.
Mm.
When you were born, for those that saw Roots,
Yeah.
when Kunta Kinte raised his daughter Kizzy up and said, behold, the only thing greater than yourself, that was a rite to pass program. That was introducing this new spirit to the world, to the creator. At the age of 2 to 3, there was a rite to pass program. Because that is the age, we call it the terrible twos. But actually, as a father, it is the terrific twos. Because it's at that point, 2 to 3 to 4, give or take, years of age, the child now, at this point, they say, okay, ma, dad, okay, big sis, big bro, I followed you. You told me what to do. Everything you told me to do, I did. But now I got a little bit of sense. So now I want to know why.
Yeah.
Why? And what I've often, when I've done parent programs, what I've told them to do is continue to answer their questions. They're not asking you those questions for any other reason but for knowledge. Answer the questions. That is the spirit within them that is formulating them. This is me now, okay? I'm Kaba now. I'm not that baby that you was rolling up and telling me and turning me over on my side and come with me over here and do this and do that. Now I want to know why. Children who are not addressed, if the child doesn't ask questions, I'd be more concerned than if the child asks too many questions, because it is the child that doesn't ask questions that can be abused when they get older.
Wow.
Because the first thing, and working in the education department, brother, I have been, my work was to be able to identify children who were being abused. I've had thousands of students from kindergarten straight through college who, and also part of my job when I was in the executive office was to go out. It was called incident reports. My job was to go out and to make sure that of our 35 schools, I wanted to know who was fighting. Did anybody get shot? Did anybody get abused? And it's not just physical abuse that you have to deal with. As an educator, I've had to deal with mental abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, spiritual abuse. There's many different types of abuse. And at the corner of all of those abuses, the abuser is stuck. It is for the reasons of power. Power is what people, and the people that do that to children and to others feel powerless. So to put them in a place where they feel powerful, they go after the vulnerable, for the most part, which is our children.
Yeah.
And so it becomes important that we understand these variables because, my brother Caleb, and to the community, we're not in Africa anymore. And not only are we not in Africa, we are in a hostile environment.
That's right.
That because of our vulnerability, we normally are the ones that are focused on. Unfortunately, sometimes even by our own people.
That's right.
Okay? And so when you're dealing with these concepts, a child that asks the question at 2 or 3 is actually letting you know, hey, I ain't gonna let nobody just do anything. And I have found that most of the children who have come to me, I've had children that have come to me during lunch, and they say, for instance, they say, Jane, let's just say Jane would like to talk to you. See, the child may be afraid to come to me directly, so she sends a friend or he sends a friend.
Right.
And I would say to them, well, let Jane come talk to me anytime she wants to. And I'll understand if she needs to leave class to come to me personally, I'll write a note that she can go back into class, that it's a purpose why it's happening. And they have come to me. And I can give you examples of experiences that I've had. Child tells me that when they're coming to school, there's a car, a van that follows them and has a dog or is inviting them to come into the van.
Wow.
And that they're afraid. my first question to them is, does mommy and daddy know, or grandma, whoever they're living with, do they know? And they'll say, no, I'm afraid, because most children are afraid to tell their parents because they don't know what the parent will do. So they, so in this particular case, this actually happened, but I'm going to change the names to protect the innocent. And this was years ago. And this was when I was in elementary school. And so what I did is I said, well, you know, there's nothing that I can do unless I call mommy and daddy and talk to them. And they didn't mind that. They didn't mind me talking to mommy and daddy. They didn't want to talk to mommy and daddy.
Wow.
So that is why it's so important to have a trusting adult that you can come to, that there's some semblance. And that's one of the great rewards that I've had in my career, that my manner of acting, children trusted me. Just like I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
You know, just like I talk to other people, that's how I talk. And there was a trust. There was a spirit of trust that they had in me, that they at least had somebody they could come talk to. Okay, long story short. So I called the parents, spoke to the parents. And again, I tell the parents, look, the greatest is if you go talk to them. If you call the police, because I can't. I can, but they're going to say to me, do you know? So before we go to back and forth, let me just tell you now, I'll tell you that I will support you. And if they say to you, does the school know, say yes, and then use my name. Now, family, I'm stepping into hell when I do that. Because for people who are abusing children, I'm going to have to confront them. They're going to know it's me. I've had situations where they've come at me like they want to do me in. Because they're about to get some time in prison. And so, long story short, again, they set it up where she's going to walk to school. I'm in the school. This is between the parents and the police now. And this particular day, the van comes, and the girl was told to give a signal as to where the van was. And she gave the signal. The police descended on that van, and that ended it. That's one of many examples that I could give you. That's when I was an assistant principal in a school. That's not even when I went on the executive level, where I was dealing with 35 school incidents like this. So what I am saying is that to parents and to people who take care of children, encourage the children to talk to you. Because it's the children that will ask you questions. It's the children that will confront and talk to you. Mommy, that's not what you said last week. You know, you may think it's disrespectful, but that same mindset is what's going to protect them when they mature. The next Right to Pass program was when you're 7, 8, or 9. This is the point where you're dealing, before that, you're at pre-reasoning skills. The concept in pre-reasoning is synthesis. Now, family, please know, we're talking about W.A.P. But I'm trying to build into it to help us understand from a scientific perspective what I'm talking about.
Right.
Because when I listen to that song, what they're getting at is absolutely scientifically accurate. But the way it's being presented might be another kind of way. But my thing is, I always believe, take the best and leave the rest.
Yeah.
Take the sense out the nonsense and keep on trucking.
That's right.
And when I hear something, even though I may be listening to what they're saying, like I wouldn't talk like that, I'm listening to what's underneath. You know, and I'll tell you, my son helped me do this.
Wow.
Because he say, yo, Dad, you're getting too caught up in the words. Listen for the beats. And that's what turned me around in rap, because I'm from Smokey Robinson. You know, Marvin Gaye. Okay? I'm from a point where the words mattered in the song, not the beats. You see?
Yes, sir.
And as we look at this, we have to look at this differently. We have to shape it a little bit differently, because the age 7, 8, or 9, children begin to synthesize information. All them things that they were learning before, now they start to group it. They put them in packages together. And that is when they're developing their neurons, their nerve cells in the brain are now connecting information. And so when they say to you, you know, that's not what you said last week, what they're actually doing is that they're remembering what you said last week. They're remembering what you're saying right now. And they're saying, yo,
Yeah.
it don't go like that. Something up there. Okay.
Wow.
That's very good.
Mm.
That's very good. And that is where parents can have a conversation with the child. Well, what I meant last week was, what I meant today was, there is a difference. I understand it. Maybe I could have said it a little differently. Let me say it another way. Or you might ask the child, well, considering what you heard, how would you say to you what I was saying? Make the child start to think, critical thinking skills and reasoning. Because at 7, 8, or 9, that's when they get reasoning. And that is where our children reject white supremacy in the educational system. Wow. That is what Jawanza Kunjufu, when he was talking about in his book, The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, that's what he meant by the 4th grade syndrome.
Wow.
Because by the 4th grade, you're basically 8, 9, 10 years old. You always add 5 to the grade. Mm-hmm. So if you're in the 4th grade, you add 5, because 5, you have to be 5 to get into kindergarten.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's 5 plus 4. Mm-hmm. So normally you're around 9 years old. Mm-hmm. Let me take you back to early childhood. Everything that happens in the school, and see, my blessing was I've taught all these grades, so I know how my teaching methodology changed because of my experiences. Up until a certain point, up until about the 4th grade, this is why it's the 4th grade syndrome. It's because you're learning how to read. In other words, they got these little cutesy bears and these balloons, and you're counting a sheep, and they're taking you to Disney World, and it's all wonderful and happy, and you're counting and you're reading. Roy is chasing Fido, who's chasing a ball. Okay. Oh, that's fun. Oh, that's beautiful. But when you get into the 4th grade, you're no longer learning to read. Now you're reading to learn. Mm. And that's in the 4th grade is when they stick you with George Washington and Thomas Jefferson.
Right.
And all the wonderful things that Europeans have done and all the things that black folk can't do. And at that point, even though I got to be careful how I say this, mm-hmm. Children are not failing when they don't get good scores, because they are rejecting nonsense.
Wow.
They're rejecting it. They're saying, why do I want to know about George Washington? Mm. Cut down the cherry tree. I cannot tell a lie. That never happened.
Right.
George Washington was one big lie.
Yes, sir.
Thomas Jefferson was a pedophile. Mm. He was in his mid-40s having an affair with a 14-year-old girl.
That's right.
Sally Hemings. And then hid her in France to do his devil. Mm. And then when he brought her back, he promised that he was going to free her children. And what he did was he had her room, because they've already gone and done deep research in Thomas Jefferson's house. And they found that her room was underneath his, and he had a secret passage how he could get down there for W.A.P. Mm. That's who we dealing with. Now, you telling me that I need to know that? You telling me that I'm supposed to hold that man up as some kind of hero or faux father? Well, he could be, considering how many Jeffersons I know. But the idea is that in the 4th grade syndrome, that's where you're learning this. And that's where you start to reject. And that's where you start seeing our children's grades changing.
Right, yeah.
Because if you can't see yourself in what you're learning, why are you learning it? What did it mean to me?
Pointless.
What does George Washington mean to me?
That's right.
He held over 300 Africans against their will. Mm. And I'm supposed to feel that he is somebody special, and I have to be out of mind. People say to me, brother, the way you talk, you out of your cotton picking mind. Wow. And I say, yeah, I am out of my cotton picking mind. The problem is you in a cotton picking mind.
That's right.
Okay, let's be real about this, Brother Caleb.
Yes, sir.
and to our community.
Mm.
Now, the next right to pass program is that puberty. After the 8, 9, and 10 comes the 12, 13, 14, and that is when the young male produces the spermatozoa in order to be able to reproduce himself, and that is when young ladies begin to develop their life cycle that allows them to have eggs that can be fertilized by the male spermatozoa.
Yeah.
Okay, now there was something that they would have learned on this level that would have been introduced to them in the next right to pass program, which was basically 19, 20, 21 years of age. And this is what I'd like to talk about, because what that is that they would have learned, what I'm going to discuss tonight with respect, is W.A.P.
Mm.
I'm going to use W.A.P because it draws people attention.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so you want that, I'll go there.
Yeah.
But I'll do it with respect.
Yeah.
Because we have to understand what Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion meant when they were talking about the power of W.A.P.
Mm. Wow.
Now, let me just talk about the power of W.A.P. We have witnessed human beings who have worked all of their lives to raise themselves to a level of respect and glory.
Yep. Yep.
We have had presidents of the United States
Right. That's right.
throw everything away
Yep.
for W.A.P.
Mm.
We've had CIA directors who have had marvelous backgrounds and accomplishments that throw everything away for W.A.P. We have had people in positions of power that have achieved great things and are willing to throw everything away for W.A.P. We have to say to ourselves, what is it that would make a man? And I'm going to focus on men.
Please.
Because the dynamics of women as it relates to taking advantage is different, because women possess W.A.P. Men do not. They possess something else that is mirrored to W.A.P.
Yeah.
Which we're going to talk about as we move through this process. It is said through African tradition that men and women are born with two brains.
Yeah.
It is said that men and women are exactly the same. But because of the nature of the role that they play in society, they have specific functions to be able to reproduce themselves.
Yeah.
And because of that, they are given various attributes and characteristics. The ridiculousness of a man and a woman to sit in an office and do the same job, and men get paid more because they're men and women get less because they're women, that goes against every principle of natural phenomena. If a woman is doing the same thing a man is doing, she is entitled to everything that that man gets. But we also have to recognize that there is a difference between the male energy and the female energy.
Yeah.
But that difference doesn't make one better than the other or superior to the other. It is just, in order for the society to function, you must have those two polar opposites to complement each other to get the job done.
That's right.
So it is said that within the energy of the male, the man is born with a brain in his head, and a brain in his reproductive organ. In fact, it's called the head.
That's true. Yeah.
A woman is born with two brains. She is born with a brain in the head,
Yeah. In the heart.
and a brain in the heart.
Yeah.
And the greatest achievements you make in life is when you have, during this puberty rite of passage, is when the elder brothers took the younger brothers who were going through puberty, they would take them away from the community, and they would have summer camp where they would have a brain transplant.
Mm.
They would intellectually and spiritually remove the brain from the head of the reproductive organ and put it in the brain in the head. The elder women would take the younger women, take them away from the community, and they would have summer camp, so to speak, where they would have a brain transplant, where they would take the brain from the heart of the young girl and put it in her head. In relationships between men and women, the best relationships, the most foundational relationships exist, for the most part, there are exceptions to the rule, but I'm going by what nature says, is when both the man and the woman have had brain transplants. Relationships that work but are always tested by one or the other is when one of them have had a brain transplant and the other one has not. The worst relationships is when neither of them have had brain transplant, and a man thinks through his penis and a woman thinks by her heart. Because most of the mistakes that men make, they make because their reproductive organ is the brain that they use for most of what they deal with. And many of the errors that are made by sisters, women, are made because of the decision they make because of their heart. And so, with this in mind, what they would have learned, which is why we decided to talk this evening, was to understand W.A.P. What is W.A.P? Now, let me go deep inside. There is a sister that I would recommend that you all check out. Her name is Dr. Jewel Pookrum. JEWELPOOKRUM. Jewel Pookrum. This sister dropped some knowledge, and she dropped knowledge on me. I've got her book and books. I've been on panels with her, and the sister goes deep inside the psychosexual erotica. You see, black folk aren't sexual. Black folk are sensual. If you just watch how we interact, black folk are excited by what they see, be it a brother or a sister, and they see each other. There's something visually that they see, okay? The way the person talks, their mannerism, how they talk, how they think. If you get close up on them, maybe they have a scent that you smell that draws you to them.
That's right.
Their touch, you know?
Yes, sir. And
of course, their taste. All of the six senses, because thinking is a sense. You have five, they claim five senses. Black folk, African folk say there's six. Thinking is a sense. And so once we understand that the actual act of the clutch is the last thing that you want to do. And what you want to do is you want to create that environment that you can prepare yourself for the sacred act of the clutch. And brothers, here's what you would have learned. It is our responsibility to get our sisters ready for that activity that is to come.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be. Some people say have a slow hand. Some folks say take your time. We ain't in no rush here. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't pull your pencil out until the light goes off on the electric sharpener. Take your time. This is what we would have been taught. We were taught the act, but we were taught the entrance into the act. You know, brother, when I taught middle school, my office, I moved my office. I was an administrator, but I moved my office into a middle school. I moved my office in. I worked in the most challenged district in New York City. The most. Out of 31 districts, I moved into the one that had the greatest challenges. I moved into the community that had the largest housing projects in the country. Even Los Angeles didn't have, we had projects that went for blocks and avenues. So when I would experience going through these processes, I came to realize that we have situations that we have to start to look at. And we have to understand, because my office in this building, I was director of social studies, 35 schools. But I said, if this is going to work, if my mouth, my big mouth that says that teaching culture works, I want to go into the worst school in the worst district in New York City. And that's where I went. The school I went to was the one, when I was doing incident reports, when other schools were having 17 incidences, fights, whatever, this particular school had 85.
Wow.
That's how deep this school was.
Wow.
This school was having situations. And the exit, I never took the elevator. I always walked up and down the stairs. I just wanted to stay healthy. I walked up and down the stairs. I was on the 4th floor. And the students knew, don't do nothing on exit 10. Because you don't know when Brother Booker T, because this was before I corrected my name, you don't know when Brother Booker T is going to be right there on you, and he come down the stairs so fast or up the stairs so fast, you ain't going to be able to pull your zipper up.
Wow.
Please let me be honest with you so that I can get my point across, because I don't want to play around with words and get lost in what I'm trying to say when I can say it in a way.
Most definitely.
And so there were some children that may not have gotten the word about exit 10, and I would come down those stairs and I would catch them in certain acts, particularly oral acts, and I would stop. And I would ask them to gather themselves up, you know, do what you got to do, put your zipper up, bruh, you know, because I want to talk to you. And then I'm going to leave. Okay, I don't know if you're going to come back, but the word is don't come on exit 10 because Brother Booker T going to be there. And you just got caught. And when you get caught, I got to ask you a question. I asked the brother, I said, look, if that sister was so quick to get up on you, do you know how many she may have done today?
That's right.
And you know, if she doing you, she doing you with everybody else that has been in her mouth.
That's right.
And then I said to the sister, I said, sister, no respect, but are you the only one that he is allowed to do this? And if you ain't, do you know how many other you are now engaged? Do you know how many other mouths that have been on him have been on you? Because I believe that it wasn't about taking them to the principal's office. Because I know how young people are in South Central Bronx. It's not about that. Because they're going to do it anyway. They're just going to find a slicker way to do it. But I just want to put a thought in your head so that for the rest of your life, you're going to be thinking about what I'm saying to you. Every time someone latches on, you're going to figure out, you're going to say, okay, now am I the only one And I used to also say, when by chance they would be bold enough to be in the clutch as I'm coming down those stairs, I say, okay, fam, get yourselves together, pull it back, put it in. You know, you, sister, fix yourself. I'm going to turn my back. Let me know when I can turn around and talk. And I say to the sister, I say, your body is a temple. You are a sacred temple. And whoever you let into your temple, you have to make sure they are coming in with respect, understanding, and dignity towards you. Mm-hmm. So, sister, you don't want to let everybody who knock at your temple door in. I say to the brother, I say, brother, your instrument is a sacred key that opens up her temple to you. Mm. Every temple that beckons you to come in, you don't always want to go in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But remember, if you ain't had a brain transplant, from your reproductive organ to your head, or from your heart to your head, you're going to make decisions right there that I think TLC wrote a song, if I'm right, called Waterfall.
Yeah.
Okay? Listen to the words of that song, Waterfall. Mm. Every temple you don't want to go in, and everybody that knocks at your door, you don't want to let in. If sister, you understand that your body is a temple, and brother, if you understand that your reproductive organ is a sacred ankh, it is a key that opens up the sacredness of that temple to you that would bring forward a child. Because here's another thing. The purpose of being in the clutch is to reproduce. That's how nature did it. Nature did not allow a man to be born with a condom on. Mm. You were born naked.
That's true.
So it's obvious that it was meant for you to go in naked. Mm. Because the purpose of that act was to reproduce yourself, which was the greatest godlike accomplishment that a human being can do, is to procreate yourself. Yeah. There is, a lot of people go to tantric and all the rest of the concepts as to how to bring out the very best in each other. But there's something that we may not understand about the act itself, the clutch, is that the outcome of it is not just to reproduce yourself, because there are times that you don't reproduce yourself.
It's true.
But that act regenerates you. Mm. It's like putting a battery in a charger. Yeah. And when a man enters a woman with the greatest of respect and dignity and honor, that regenerates and rejuvenates the sister. Mm. And the liquids that she produces by that excitement is W.A.P. Mm. That's what it means. It is the sacred oils that is produced in the feminine body that really invites the man to come in. That's why it is produced in order for you to enter with the least restrictive environment. If you understand what I'm saying.
Most definitely. Yes, sir.
I'm trying to say it right, Caleb.
Hey, you doing
but I
want
to say it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I think what I'm looking at out here right now, when you understand who you are, and when you divorce yourself from this system, and when you embrace your African spirit, you become a person that this society cannot deal with. Hmm. And it's important that we always listen to what our young people are saying. I'm speaking as a brother, an elder brother, looking at when I was listening to that song, W.A.P, when it was on TV. I watch them perform it, and then I Google the words to the song because I wanted to make sure that I was hearing what I was hearing.
Right.
There is no power greater on the planet than black love. And when I say black love, I'm talking about cosmic attraction. Because the duality is attraction and repulsion. You can't have attraction without repulsion, because when you are attracted to something, you automatically repulse things that go away from you.
Wow.
It's just like when you push air to you, you push the other air away from you.
Right.
That's who we are as a people. And that is what W.A.P is. But we have got all types of diseases because we have violated that sacred act. From STDs to viruses to a number of different problems that we face as a people, because we have violated the sacredness of that act. To understand that, I'm speaking as a man now, and I will give a perception of a sister, but I'm not speaking for sisters, because sisters think with their energy differently than a man does. But I'll tell you one thing, ain't no power greater when a woman loves a man, and I'm talking about loves and trusts the man. There are women who, acting through the heart, will keep a man around for all the wrong reasons. Her W.A.P is not as genuine as the sister that truly loves and trusts her man. That is a force that brought the cosmic universe into existence. This is what I'm talking about in spirituality before religions, but I'm not applying it to the clutch. But spiritually, if we know who we are, if we understand who we are, we would conduct ourselves, but we don't know who we are. We don't know who our creator is. If somebody can laugh and mock your God and promote theirs, and you turn away from your God and embrace theirs, what do you expect the outcome of your life is going to be? You see? Hope is achievement not yet reached. You can hope all you want to. And I understand the term, keep hope alive. I understand it.
Yeah.
But I ain't hoping. I'm helping.
That's right.
I got the hope, but the hope is back here. The help is what I'm doing now. When a sister is brought to that point of power, when that brother has taken the time to prepare that sister for her to prepare for him, that clutch is the clutch of all time. And when you learn how to do it right, you get better at what you do. You rejuvenate stronger, quicker. You regenerate. There's a direct relationship between W.A.P and what we call RNA, ribonucleic acid. Ribonucleic acid is what repairs everything that's wrong with you. DNA makes you up who you are. Deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. RNA is what repairs you. RNA, ribonucleic acid, is that entity that is within us that repairs us, that takes us to the next level, that rejuvenates us, that regenerates us. And that is what W.A.P is. That wetness that is produced by preparing that system for that sacred act is what actually is God in the making. because it is that liquid released on a non, let's say, protected reproductive organ of a man that enters into the head of his body, and that bathes his system. Not just the organ itself, it goes inside. And it goes through your entire body and it electrifies you. And if you don't believe me, it's God's act. Who do we call when we're about to hit that point of supreme elevation? Oh my God, Jesus. We call upon God when we get to that point, because we are identifying that that feeling is God on earth. You know, and then, you know, I'm gonna stop talking because I think we need to go back and forth.
Take your time. You're good.
Oh yeah, I got one more thing to say.
Okay, you take your time.
And then we can chop it up. Dr. Yosef Ben Yekinen, the great chematologist, took us to Egypt and taught us our history and culture. Used to always say, but he never explained. What I did tonight was to explain what he said almost every time he talked, which told me something about him too. He said, heaven is between the black woman's legs. What I just told you is the heaven on earth that's between the black woman's legs. Brothers, we must, when we're ready to get into the clutch, we must take our time, and we must understand that it is our responsibility to put that sister in a spiritual mood. Because when she's in a spiritual mood, everybody goes to heaven. And we've got to begin to go back to our own thought process and leave this Western civilization alone that doesn't understand the power within, so they try to take advantage over the power without. And so W.A.P, what they're talking about, now, I heard the words of the song, okay? So I'm not coming at us like I don't hear what the words are, okay? It's like when you're listening to the beats, okay? You have to get over some words that you hear being said if you're willing to hear the beats. And so what I'm asking us to do is to analyze that song from a different perspective. Analyze it and understand that men have given up everything that they've ever worked for.
That's right.
For W.A.P. Without the discipline and the respect of the woman that they are engaged with. Because if they respected her, they would not do to her what they did, because when they went and fell, they using the head from their reproductive organ, they made her use the head from her heart. And that is a toxic relationship. And one more thing about the pimp-prostitute-John relationship. Let us be clear. The pimp is not in charge. The prostitute is. Because the pimp depends on the prostitute for what he wants, and the John depends on the prostitute for what he wants. So however you look at it, the sister's still the center of attraction because she is magnetism. And she draws the pimp to her, she draws the John to her. Most prostitutes know that they're in charge, but they're playing the brothers because there's something they want. And they want to see that man on his knees begging her for what they desire, be it money or W.A.P. I'll stop there, brother. Any questions, comments?
Yes, sir. Dr. Kaba, that was beautiful. And on Felipe Matthews on his show, you guys had a great discussion. I think it was back in like 2017. And you said one quote that really, really touched me. It was, let's see, women are magnets and men are electric. If you can you please break that down for me?
Yes. We were talking science. We were talking about feminine and male energy, masculine and feminine energy. The way the atom is constructed, you have a nucleus in the middle of the atom, And in this atom, there is a neutron, which is neutral, and a proton, which is female. And around that nucleus, there are electrons. They're basically 4 shells: the K shell, the L shell, the M shell, and the N shell. The electron is male because it is electric. The proton is female because it's magnetic and it ensures that the electron will stay within its orbit. The neutron is what balances both the male and the female in what it does. What I was talking, and it goes to Spirituality Before Religions, the book that I wrote, and Shabaka Stone, which is my 3rd book, which I encourage us to look at because I go in depth in discussing what I'm about to tell you now. Electrical currents, by the nature of their movement, electrical currents create magnetic fields. Magnetic fields create electrical currents. They live for each other. They are in balance with each other. And so the male energy is electric. And you know, what I'm telling you right now is very simple, brother. When you look at programs, right? Strip clubs,
Yeah.
okay? A great majority of strip clubs basically are female. You know, you did have this male thing that they tried, but so to women, men are not interesting like that.
Yeah.
There are even some women that are attracted to strip clubs. See, because we have a thing about parts of bodies, okay? And there are men that look at breasts. There are men that look at backsides. There are men that look at thighs. And then there are men that look at eyes. They look at feelings. They look at energy. Okay, all that. Why would a person be attracted to breasts? Breasts are not an erogenous zone. But what are breasts? So you got to go to passions.
Yeah.
The first thing that an infant does when it comes out of mother is feed and suckle at her breast. The most sacred images in Kemet and Kush is Aset suckling Heru, her son, born in divine majesty. That is why women are attracted to breasts. Not erogenously. Because for them, when they came out of mother, they suckled at her breast too.
Right.
So when you're attracted to breasts and it turns you on, you're really feeling hungry. That's why you're attracted to breasts. So that we are, and you see, you have women who are trying to be black. For the most part. Okay, there are sisters that may be born where they may not have the type of breasts that people, well, why would people be attracted to large breasts? What is it about large breasts that would make a woman deform herself to destroy her body and not know the end result in her elder years, what's going to happen to her body if that stuff starts leaking?
That's right.
Okay? And so large breasts represent a lot of milk. That's why most people are attracted to large breasts.
Yeah.
Is because that passion, the first passion that every human being has, is to suckle at his or her mother's breast. Large breasts represents more milk, so to speak, psychologically. Of course, people don't realize that no matter what size you may have, you still can produce the same amount of milk during lactation and pregnancy. But they're not thinking like that because the Western civilization ain't got no damn sense.
Yep.
And if we follow them, we're losing ours too. And so the object of this concept of the male is electric energy, and the female is magnetic energy. Magnetism lives for electricity, electricity lives from magnetism. They create each other. And that is the scientific principle of life on Earth. That's what we're made up of. We're made up of male and female energy, both male and female. You and I, Caleb, and the males that are watching this, our daddy gave his Y chromosome to our mother's X chromosome. Women have 2X, men have XY. You carry your daddy's Y chromosome. I carry my daddy's Y chromosome. I am the only one that can pass the male lineage down when I mate, when I have mated with my wife in terms of just developing a family. 2X, 1X, 1Y. Science tells you that it was meant for women to be more numerous than men. The mathematical ratio is 3 to 1. Science tells you that. In human beings, you put a male and a female together, you're looking at 3X and 1Y. Women were meant to outnumber men 3 to 1. But why? So you could reproduce on Earth. If there were more men than women, we'd have a problem.
Yeah, that's right.
Now people say, well, brother, you know, are you talking about polygamy? Well, let me not say if I'm talking about polygamy, but let me tell you how it first started. It wasn't first polygamy. It was polyandry first. Women had multiple male partners. And polygamy is not a man's thing. That became Western. Polygamy is run by sisters. It is the sisters that run the house and invite the man to come in. The man can't just say, oh, I like her, I'm going to bring her in. No, you can't. You got to go through the council of women in that house before you can even think about that. And for the most part, that doesn't happen. Men don't run polygamy. Women do. And they're going to build a house because there are 3 women to every 1 man. And if you have a situation where there are even less for, like for war, for murder, or in our case, imprisonment, you might have more than 3. But then you have to get away from the emotion of jealousy and envy and all the things that are built in our society to understand that in the beginning, it was meant for a society to function. And the only way you could function was to be able to bring forward the children of the earth. And to do that, women stayed pregnant to bring forward life. And that's what created what we today call demographics, or the study of populations. See, this is science. This is what I was listening to when I heard W.A.P. I was saying, whoa, this is science. Cardi B and Megan dropping science. But the way they're presenting it, it's going over people's head and they're interpreting it another way. So let me get with my brother Caleb and drop it like it's hot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's perfect, Doctor.
No doubt, brother.
Yes, and right now you're in an amazing documentary, Bug Breaking. I'm planning on buying that very soon. In that film, you know, talking about the European influence on the black man, on sex. Can you please expound on that, on how slavery, how Europeans influence how we have sex even right now, today?
You know, brother, we all have to sit. You know, I used to work with a group of folk that had male-female counseling sessions where we would come together and talk. And one of my first rule was this. We are not coming up in this room and talk about all the things I can't stand about you. We always started with what I love about you. And then when we get a trust in that room, where we get a sense of each other, then we can start talking about things that we need to consider as it relates to building. If you want to destroy a nation, destroy the family. If you want to destroy a family, underdevelop the woman. Because a society is only as great as the intellect of the woman, because she is not just the original teacher and mother of the family. She knows that child 10 months before the world even gets a glance at them.
That's right.
Brother, I'm proud to be a man.
Mm.
With all the things that a man is, I am proud to be a man, but it's time for us to look to our sisters and understand, respect, and love them the best we can. I know that there are sisters that are going through changes. And sometimes we get caught up and are the object of the answer to what they believe to be.
Yeah.
I know that. And I know that there are brothers that have been through something that hurts. You know, brother, one of the things that I've thought about throughout my life growing up and studying history, because I was born in 1953, 2 years before Emmett Till.
Yeah.
I was a child of the civil and human rights movement of the 60s. I made a promise to myself. And the promise that I made was I was going to establish myself as a man. And I wanted whoever I married to be proud of me. I wanted my children to be proud of me. I wanted the community, my family, to be proud of me. And no matter what that European felt towards me, I thought what Malcolm once taught us. The European man is not the measure of manhood that I wish to measure my manhood by. You don't speak to me about being a man. You don't know what a man is because you're not one yourself.
That's right.
And the way I know you're not a man is not just how you treat me. It's how you treat your own woman. I know you ain't a man.